Yeah.
Am I live? Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alex Alvarez, Director of Marketing here at Neuron. Sorry for running late. Today, we are talking about some of the updates that we've had in Access Studio, some of the upcoming features that we're going to have. We'll be doing a live presentation. We'll be answering some of your questions live throughout the chat. Today, in Mocap today, we're going to be going over some new things. So, last update that we've had was Access Studio 2.8 that introduced a couple of new features that we'll be covering over, which was the MetaHuman skeleton support, environment sweep, space lock, and the G function. Now, some of those we've been putting out videos on our YouTube channel under the Did You Know? So you'll be able to get a quick rundown. They're about a minute long in terms of time, so you'll be able to kind of get a quick run through in terms of how these functions are used and what benefits they have for your everyday mocap procedures. And actually one that I just thought about that isn't here is actually a countdown delay. So for those of you that are working on your own, you do have the ability to delay functionalities like your calibration, your recording, your reset, so that way it makes it easier as you're operating on your own. Perfect. And some things that are upcoming are our UE-Daz 3D skeleton remap asset, and we have a new Access Studio Unreal widget coming out as well. We have a new release of Access Studio 2.9 that is slated to come out later this month, in which we'll be covering over some of the new functions and features that you'll be seeing in the software as well. We've been making a really big effort at making sure that you guys are getting the best quality data, and again, software focused to make sure that you are able to operate with your hardware no matter when you purchase it, right? So let me make sure if this video is playing. If not, I will go here. And so we're going to be talking about magnetic sweep. So what's really interesting about the magnetic sweep is that this function, you'll see on the top left-hand corner as the video is playing, is going to give you a real-time awareness of what you're doing, right? You can do this after you've done your calibration and your posture, and you want to do an environment scout. Sometimes, you know, we already have in the device details of whether you're in a poor location or in a good location based off of the color indicators, but this time you're getting down to the sensor level in terms of what's good and bad, right? So here you're getting a full 3D view, and for example, as Daniel is walking around our studio, we can see that his gloves, like almost mid-level, there is some slight magnetic interference. Not enough that the mocap data is going to be compromised, but it gives us an idea of what things to look out for. Same for the feet, right? In this zone, we're able to say like, hey, there's a couple things that could be detrimental. You know, there could be a plate on the floor, there could be something that we need to avoid. And being able to get this full 3D view of what is taking place is really essential to kind of maximize your performance capture, right? And so we highly recommend doing this pre any session. And it just looks super cool, but you'll also be able to get much better data at the end of the day, knowing what your environment looks like. So let me close this out here. The next is our MetaHuman setup. Inside of our Access Studio dropdown, we have a new basically retarget asset, which is our MetaHuman remap. Inside of Skeleton Select in your BVH broadcasting, you will go ahead and select the MetaHuman function, and it's a one-click function, right? This will essentially retarget to your MetaHuman function. Before we had to have an additional node that was a corrective pose that needed to be used. And if you're still using Perception Neuron Pro or Perception Neuron 32, you will still need to use a corrective pose. But for those that are using Studio and PN3, this new functionality within the Skeleton Select will make it so much easier to work with your MetaHumans, and we are constantly improving this, so this is almost like, think of it as a V1 of your Skeleton Select, and we're doing different things as well, like just improving on the shoulders, improving on the fingers, to make it so much easier for you guys to work with your MetaHuman creations. The next is our Access Studio Unreal widget, which I will let Daniel talk a little bit about since he's been playing around with this a little bit more.
Yeah. So we'll keep the window open just so everyone can see. We can see that the widget introduces a lot of the simple recording functions inside of Access Studio. You also have options to reset the zero pose and a lot of the posture calibration. So this saves you from opening up the Access Studio. We just have a simple widget inside of Unreal to do quick actions when you're doing, sessions for live link recording inside of the Unreal timeline. So that's kind of a quick overview of what the widget is. We'll have that released very soon inside of the Unreal Marketplace. So make sure your plugins are updated within this end of this week.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. Next one, which the last one, do you want to cover really quickly the Daz 3D? I know we don't have a slide for that, but you want to kind of go over that real quickly?
So it's real quick. We'll have a new updated asset for Daz 3D, Gen 8 characters. We're starting to see a lot of users pick that up nowadays, so they're creating the character inside of Daz 3D, they're exporting that directly to Unreal Engine, and so then you'll be able to use our system to send data to your characters inside of Unreal for Daz 3D characters in there. So all you simply have to do is just update the remap asset from the default to Daz 3D. You'll see the little remap asset under the live link pose node, and that'll set up your character ready to receive data from Access Studio.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I definitely highly advise, if you're not already using the skeleton select dropdown in your broadcast settings, to play around with it a little bit more. We have things from your MetaHuman IK to our traditional Access Studio skeleton to, like we said, the Unreal Mannequin and the MetaHumans. So use those to your advantage because it will just make your retargeting process so much easier when you are working with your avatars. Next thing we're going to cover is procedures. Since 2.8, we've updated some of the things that we've done in terms of operationalize your SOP, right? So when you're starting to do your mocap, when you're starting to do your operation, there's a couple things that we want you guys to follow and just sort of pay attention to. Again, these are all meant to maximize the way that you get better data, right? It's the same thing that when we sort of started with our rules, our 3 golden rules, environment, sensor placement, and calibration. Those 3 things still run true. And when you're using Access Studio, there's a couple different things that will make sure that you get the best quality data at the end of the day. Number 1 is making sure that you're getting signal quality. You want to make sure that before you're doing your posture calibration, that your signal quality is up to par, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, we're looking at about 90 and above when you're doing a calibration?
Correct. Always want to get 90% or above. 90%
or above. In the device details, you'll get an individual look at what your sensors look like, but so long as in Access Studio you see that all your sensors are 90 and above, go ahead and do your calibration and do your environment. Next thing is the sensor calibration. Like I said, so long as your sensors are above 90, go ahead and proceed, you'll be good to go. And the last thing is posture calibration, right? And this goes in line with making sure that your sensors and your straps are in the right place, that you calibrate properly. And there's a new calibration pose that was recently introduced, which is the W pose. The W pose, as we've seen, is really great for making sure that you are aligned in an environment, especially in an environment that has really bad magnetic interference or is highly magnetized. We've had really great results with this. And if you're working in a smaller volume or in a smaller mocap space, you can remove the W pose and then go back to your traditional A, T, and S pose. And so we'll show that during the live portion of the demo so you can see what it looks like when you're doing the W pose. And again, highly recommended if you are in an area that has high magnetic interference. So here in the video, what we're going to be looking at is a signal check. So the first thing we're going to do is, and this is pre-recorded, so me and Daniel did this a little bit earlier. He put here on the stand, he put the sensors on the table. I went down to the green button, which is our quick connect. It's identifying the signal strength of the sensors. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to the device details. There in the device details tab, I can see what the sensors look like, what the signal quality looks like. And then you'll also see that right under the sensor map, like right under the green button, you'll notice that you'll get your overall sensor quality basically average, right? And so here for us, we had 98, 97, which is really ideal to continue our process. The next thing is our sensor calibration. And we do this doing two things, right? The first is going to our hamburger menu and selecting the magnetic calibration. For those of you that do this, this is obviously something that when your sensors are magnetized, we obviously recommend doing the magnetic calibration to make sure that your sensors are demagnetized. But also doing this procedure at the beginning of your capture sessions is gonna make sure that your sensors understand the environment that they're in and in what environment they're working at. We found that this gives us the best optimal results, and again, making sure that you get the best quality data once you start your performance capture. So once that procedure is done, you'll get a pass or you'll get a fail, and if you do get a fail, it's totally okay. You'll just redo that. It will identify which sensors need to be redone. You would just go through this and you're complete. The next portion of this, which I don't know if it is in the video, Daniel, which is the steady calibration. Is that in one of these?
Yes, it's a number 2. So
it's number 2, sensor calibration.
Yeah, after you do the magnetic calibration, then you want to do the sensor, the steady calibration. It's also in the process as well.
So that, no, we did that one. Posture calibration.
So then after you do the magnetic calibration and steady calibration, then you do the posture calibration. In this video, we're just showing a quick description of what you need to select for the full body fingers. Depending on what working mode you have different selections enabled. The following is just a series of 5 different steps to calibrate the character.
Correct. And again, you'll see that you have your T pose, A pose, W, B, and P if you're using gloves. If you're not using the gloves, you will only have your T, A, and W pose, and even the S pose, right? When you deselect the W, you'll get the S pose function. Again, we'll show this during the live portion with Daniel with the suit. Something that just really quickly, because I don't think we caught that during one of the capture sessions, which is after your magnetic calibration, which we showed as the second step, you do want to perform the steady calibration. This is, again, in the hamburger menu. We'll drop down, I'll show it really quickly. It's a hamburger menu, it's your steady calibration, and again, you'll do that before putting on the sensors and performing the posture calibration. Oh, perfect. So right now, what we'll do is I'll swap over to Access Studio. We'll take a look at Daniel, and we'll walk through some of the different software things that we've covered and see what he looks like. So perfect. So you guys should see Access Studio live on the screen. Have Daniel here. Let me make sure. Are we good with Daniel? Is he perfect?
Yes,
Awesome there. Great. So you guys should be seeing Daniel now in Access Studios. Right. So he is live. We can see that in environment, his signal strength 90, between 80 and 90, which is totally fine. It's normal that we can get these things. You can still capture really high, but when you're doing the the posture calibration, you want to make sure that you're in your high 90s. Some things that we talked about in the beginning, right, and going through these procedures is making sure that you're using this quick connect button here is going to give you your first step. You're going to make sure that your sensors are at an optimal level, right, 80, 90, above, whatever they need to be. Second step is going to our hamburger menu and doing the magnetic calibration. Again, that is holding the sensors in your box, whether it's PN3 or PN Studio. Hold them, rotate around until you're done and finished and complete. This will make sure that your sensors are, again, calibrated for the environment. Once that is done, you'll place your sensors on a steady surface. For example, we had placed it on the table right there where you see the box. And then you will perform the steady calibration. The steady calibration is for the gyroscope of the sensors, and again, it'll be for optimal capture once you put them on. After those things are done, you'll obviously put on your sensors, you'll make sure that your straps are in the correct location, and then you're ready to do your motion capture session, in which case, there's a couple different things that we always like to say, which is you want to make sure that your body size is in the correct the performer has the correct dimensions. If not, then you calibrate and things may seem a little bit off. The closer you are to your body dimensions and your body size, the better and more accurate that your motion capture data will be. You could do that by visiting the template section. There's a quick drop down. And for reference, most of the ones here that are preset are really great and ready to go, and there's not much adjusting that you have to do. You can customize your own template, and you can follow the little guideline here in terms of how to do that. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to reset Daniel. I'm going to return him to origin. Make sure he's at 0. He's right there. Daniel, did you want to do a calibration?
We're going to do a calibration.
Awesome. So we're going to do a calibration. We'll show you guys what this looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my little button here. And again, when you're doing this, if you are using gloves, you will automatically get the B pose and the P pose as your options. Again, in an environment that you think is really magnetic or you just want to get optimal, sort of like the best results, we highly recommend using the W pose. It is in beta right now, but it's very good. If you're in a smaller space and you don't have the room to walk, you can deselect this and it will automatically select the S pose, so it goes back to your traditional T, S, and A pose. For our scenario, we're going to do the W pose. I'm going to go ahead and select, and now I'm going to go ahead and start my calibration with Daniel. Ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So T pose, 3, 2, 1, hold. A pose, 3, 2, 1, hold. Prepare to walk, 3, 2, 1, walk. And B pose, 3, 2, 1, lift. And pinch pose, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. So Daniel's done the calibration. He's right there. He looks good. He looks good as an avatar. He looks just as good as an avatar as he does in real life. What a charmer. So we can see again, our signal strength, really important. You always want to keep an eye on that in terms of what you're doing. But now that we've set him in terms of the calibration, there's a couple things that I'll show you as we do this live, which is the first one will be the magnetic field sweep. So again, mag trajectory that's here, you'll see it right under the capturing tab. I'm going to select this, and you can do this for two things actually. You can do this live and you can do this in post. So if you're doing live, you can actually select the body segment that you are working with. So whether it's your head, if you're doing upper body, lower body, or the whole body, you can select what you want to work with, and then you're going to click start. Clicking start will now give him the ability to walk around the environment, and he can do this in real time, and we can see that the legs, there's a little bit of magnetic interference on the ground, but not too bad. He's still really good. He has freedom to walk around, and as he does this, you know, he's kind of sweeping the environment. Again, full 3D view of what's taking place in your own personal environment. Like, I love this tool. I think you guys will find it super useful for what you're doing. You can do it for playbacks, even for older files. Actually, if you've worked with Access Studio and you're using your PN3 and your PN Studio, with this new functionality, you can actually go back and actually review. So if there was something that maybe looked a little bit weird, or you weren't sure of what your environment looked like, go back and review the footage, right? Like, you actually can go back and review and understand what took place in your capture session. So to clear this out, I'm going to go back to this tab. I'm going to click stop, and I'm going to click clear. And so doing that now removes that, and so now you don't have to worry about, you know, the lines throughout the environment. But it's a really good first step in understanding what you're going through. And again, you have the first line of that during the device details, but then you can go back and review this during the live portion with your magnetic field sweeper. Now, the next thing I'm going to cover really quickly is actually the countdown delay. Countdown delay, again, like I mentioned, if you're working by yourself or you're working individually, sometimes, you know, the reset period or for you to do something may be rather quick and you don't have enough time. So if you go, again, hamburger menu, you go to settings, you're going to find that there's a countdown delay. Right now we have it for two different options, right? Well, 3. 0 seconds, 3 seconds, and 5 seconds. Because this is new, obviously send us your feedback. Maybe it needs a little bit more time. Maybe you'd prefer a slider. Let us know what you're comfortable with. We found that this works as is, but I'm going to show you an example. Right now, there's no delay. So if I was going to return Daniel to origin, right? So if that's going to be his mark and that's going to be his 0, and I click return to origin, immediately goes back. But if I'm going to put down a countdown delay, for example, and I press 3 seconds, and goes back, let's say he's like moved, this is his new origin point, I'm trying to reset, and now I click back to origin, now you have 3, 2, 1, and a reset. So it makes it really great for you to kind of reset in terms of what you're doing, get aligned, get your positioning correct before you start your calibration sessions or doing anything that you're going to be operating on, especially if you're working by yourself. Next one I'm going to cover is going to be our G function. So this is like magnetic gauze. So this is almost like for those of you that use Photoshop or have used Microsoft Paint and you use a paint dropper tool, what you're going to see is Daniel's walking around our volume, right? And so what we're actually looking for is an area that has really bad magnetic interference. And he's actually standing right now near a server rack where we actually have a lot of our virtual production equipment. So you're going to use this if you are stationary, for those of you that are like, for example, doing streaming or VTubing, or you know you're going to be in one area for a long period of time, and it might be that you're touching a computer, you're going to be around hardware that can give you magnetic interference. So what you're going to do is you're going to press the G button, and it will reset your baseline. So I'm going to press this, and now you're going to see that the sensors and everything are going to turn green, meaning that now this environment is good to go. And you can do this a couple times, but make a note that once you do this, after a couple times, you may have to reset, do a quick calibration, but it is meant to sort of simplify the process of being in a bad environment. It's going to give you really good data output, but it's only meant to be one within that small space area, as well as only for, you know, a couple different times, you know, 4 or 5 times before you have to do a full reset over again. Daniel's back to his spot here. And so what I'm just going to do is I'm actually remove the countdown delay since I'm working with Daniel directly, back to 0, and I'm going to go ahead and put the G button again, right? So reset back to different area, G function, good to go. This is where we had done the original calibration, no worries. Cool. Next thing I want to cover really quickly is actually one of the new solver parameter functions that we have. And this is under the scenarios tab, and it's called space lock. Space lock is a beta function, and it's actually something that we created quite recently because of the demand on the VTuber end for those that are streaming, virtual YouTubers. Space lock creates a bounding box around your performer. You don't visually see this bounding box, but it's about a 1 meter by 1 meter block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do space lock, for example. I'm going to put return to origin, and I'm going to have Daniel walk. And so you actually see that, so right, we're getting about 2 meters. So once he hits that, he actually stops and he does not go beyond that. So this is actually a really great way for you to still get movement, freedom, complete sort of autonomy in terms of your capture, but without the drift. So sometimes if you're doing a really extended session, you might find that your avatar drifts or that you're getting drift over time. But if you're doing something in a capture that's a little bit of a smaller space, or that you're not, you know, don't have to worry about like a lot of movement, you can use the space lock function, and it will keep you within that 2 meter by 2 meter block, which is really great. Some of the things that I've covered right now, they are, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, of the stream, you can find them on the Did You Know videos playlist. And we're covering, again, a lot of new things that we've released on Access Studio that you guys will be able to find and play around with. Anything that I've missed, Daniel?
No, you hit all the topics. I think we could go into questions so that we can keep the, you know, a lot of the feedback from the users and just kind of answer some quick questions. We could take about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yep.
And see what we got.
Yep. We'll kind of run this for about 5 minutes. I know I was chatting with a couple of you guys on the chat before we started the stream. So let me look through some of the chats here. Let's see. I know that questions about drift and correction with like Vi, for example. So at least on the studio side, I can say that for drift correction, for larger scale things, one can scale up to Neuron VPS. That's obviously our higher end solution for virtual production. but it covers two things, right? Which is maximizing the performance of your motion capture session because it's combining optical and inertial data, right? So you get, we're using Qualisys cameras. You put 5 reference points on a performer, head, hands, and feet, and they're able to walk around the space freely, drift free. And because you are still using an inertial suit, you're not confined to just wherever the camera capture volume is sort of set in perimeter. For example, we have a 6 meter by 6 meter space, 20 feet by 20 feet. Actor can still walk out of that volume, be perfectly captured, no issues, and return into the space and be absolutely positioned. I think there's an interesting topic to be discussed about with Vive Mars, and it's something that our internal team and we are also keeping an eye on. You know, I won't dismiss anything, but I can't guarantee that anything is coming down the pipeline, but it is something that we are closely monitoring since the release of Vive Mars.
So yeah, any more questions?
Yes.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming,
Yeah.
keep them coming. So let me see. Access Studio data processing, Sound Coaster. As far as I can see, as far as I know, the only thing I could recommend, because we have not seen that data processing has sort of caused any errors on our end when we data process. So if you are open to sharing that data, both your raw file and your data processed file, Daniel and Rachel, who are on our support team, can take a look at it, evaluate, and see if there's anything that we catch that maybe sort of that the data processing maybe picked something up that it wasn't supposed to. But again, we haven't noticed any issues, but feel free to let us know or send us the data. Again, contact@neuronmocap.com. You can send those files over to us, and we'll evaluate them and work with you, right? We're here to work with you, you know, essentially one-on-one to make sure that everything is to everyone's satisfaction and that they're enjoying the experience that they're getting. Let me see. The graphic on my t-shirt, which one, Daniel or mine? We do make our own shirts in-house, custom made. I think we can look for some of the graphics that we have. We travel with some of them as well, so if you catch us at shows or if you see us, you know, let us know in advance. We'll give you a shirt. You know, I think some of them are extremely witty and fun, and we love having, you know, mocap gear to share with as many users as possible. Let me see. Next question. Possible to check the magnetic interference with the sensors in the box. Yes, you can do this as a quick sort of view. So like when you initially connect the sensors, they're obviously going to be in the box, and you can do the device details, and you can walk around your volume, and you can see what the magnetic interference looks like. However, that's like one phase of it, which is why I really like the mag trajectory, because now you're not just looking at an overall view, but you're looking at basically the sensor level and each individual sensor, where it's placed on the body and what may be giving it interference. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel?
No, that's good, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I love it. You can still do a quick device details and see what your magnetic interference looks like overall, but having this on and walking around with it is super great.
All right. Cool.
Adjusting the space lock. So this is such a great question, and it's something that I've proposed to the dev team, and I hope it's something that's going to be implemented, because right now having a 2x2 was great. One, I'd also like to have a visual sort of grid as a reference so we know where our origin and where that box is. I would love to be able to adjust that a little bit. You know, test it out as is, but give us additional feedback. Let us know what you recommend. But I agree, I would love to see a small adjustment or some fine tweaking to the space lock. Again, a lot of the functions are brand new. We're adjusting different things. And again, we're really focusing on the software to make sure that you guys are able to get the best data. Some things are going to be beta, some things are going to be final release. But as you're trying them out, you know, give us as much feedback as possible on these things.
Cool.
Question for you, Daniel.
Yes, sir.
Will the Daz connection only work live, or will we be able to export with Studio with Daz remapping?
Live link. All live real-time data from Access Studio onto the live link plugin from our marketplace plugin.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so live for that portion.
I think, yeah, that should be it for the questions. Just
Yeah, let me do two more, and I will
Yeah.
cut off.
Okay, cool.
Last one, or two more, right? Prop without VPS. So right now, again, it's also an internal sort of question that I've had for the dev team. It's something that I would like to see. Again, I can't guarantee anything. I'm not one of the devs, but it is something that I would love to see for at least binded prop tracking using one of the spare sensors. And then planning to add more functions within the data processing. I don't know. It's let us know what you would like to see in the data processing. Right now, it sort of does an overall sort of cleanup, but there may be things that let us know what you'd like to play around with. Again, it's not an editing tool. It's not Maya. It's not like an iClone where you're sort of cleaning up data. It's really meant to like smooth out and adjust some of the contact points that you would be working with. And then last question, Daniel, because this is, you've been using AutoCore, the AccuRig from iClone. So it says, will there be skeleton support for the new AutoRig Actor Core in Unreal Engine? I can't seem to live stream that skeleton in Unreal with any of the profiles.
That is another update that we're including as well. So we're going to add support through the remap assets to send data to our Actor Core characters from the AutoRig process.
Awesome, that's really great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. We are making it more of a mission to do these more. We're a super clever name, the Mocap Today. I'm Alex, that's Daniel. If you have any questions, email us at contact@neuronmocap.com. If you're not a Perception Neuron user, you can book a demo with us today. It's actually one of the reasons that we're sort of like wrapping up a little bit. We're gonna be talking to some people, but book a demo, talk to Daniel, talk to Rachel, talk to me. Feel free to ask us any questions. We'll be wrapping up the stream, and I'll stay on the chat a little bit longer in case you guys have anything else. Again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you guys. If you are at IBC, send us a message. I will be there. We'd love to meet you guys and talk next stream. Bye.